Okay, so we've got all of our information for number 1. We found the roots, or the zeros are at 2, -4, 3/5, -8/3. We found the y-intercept at y equals 16. The double root was at 2, and the end behavior was down, up. So it was like this thing. So in order to sketch this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my important information on the graph. So I'm going to start with x equals 2. Don't forget to label. Okay. And I know that's a double root. So it helps me when I just write it on there. Then I've got x equals -4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's right about there. So x equals -4. Now I need to know the decimals for 3/5. So if you type in 3/5 into your calculator, you're going to get 0.6. So that's going to be right about here somewhere. Sorry, that's not a very pretty point. So I have x equals 3/5. And then when I type -8/3 into my calculator, I get -2.6. So that's between 2 and 3. Oh, and -2 and 3. So that's about right here. So x equals -8/3. And then last thing I have to put on my graph is the +16. So that's going to be up here somewhere. So y equals 16. Remember, this is just a sketch, so it's okay if it's not nice and neat to scale. So now I know my leftmost point should be facing up, and my rightmost point should be facing down. Now I'm just going to go about connecting these. So I've got to go through and through to my y-intercept, through, and then this one's going to bounce. So at the end, we should have a smooth graph with labels that is hitting the y-intercept. Remember, it doesn't have to look exactly like this. Here's another example of something I could draw. So I go through, it could go way up here and then back down and through and then bounce if I want it as well. As long as it's hitting these points and they're all labeled, we're good. So number 2, I have to start by finding the decimals. So if you haven't found the decimals for 5 plus 3 square root of 17 divided by 8 and 5 minus 3 square root of 17 divided by 8, I want you to stop the video right now and plug these in your calculator. Remember, do the whole top, press equals, then divide it by 8 each time. Okay, so hopefully you got 2.1 for this one and -0.9 for this one. So I'm going to start by putting those two on the graph. So 2.1 is a little bit more than 2, so it's about there. So that's x equals 5 plus 3 square root of 17 over 8. And it's really important that you write the whole thing. Don't write 2.1. We want the whole explanation. And then -0.9 is close to -1. So that's x equals 5 minus 3 square root of 17 over 8. Next I have 2. Okay, so 2 is about here. So x equals 2. And this is my double root. Now I've got 1/3. So 1/3, if I type it in my calculator, is 0.3. So that'll be right about there. So x equals 1/3. Now I got to do my y-intercept, which is 8. So we're going to say that's right about there. Again, this is a sketch, so it's okay if it's not to scale. And then finally my end behavior. So the left one is going down, and the right one is going up. So I'm just going to start connecting these with a smooth graph. So there's my double root and then through. So if you notice, mine's a little pointy. So I'm just going to redraw this so it's less pointy. Remember, your hills and valleys can go different, go higher or lower as long as you're hitting all these points and they're labeled. So let's draw this one more time. So this point goes down, this one goes up. So it could look something like this too. And there's my double. Now, do you see this double down here isn't very pretty? So let's make that better. There we go. Okay, so as long as you guys have the proper things labeled and they go through the points with the right end behavior, we are good. If you can't figure it out, call me over, please.